What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the channel. And on today's episode, we are finally going to be totally reassembling this engine. As you guys can see, I left you off on the on this cylinder right here because I didn't have the circlips for them. But anyway, parts finally showed up, and I did get some more circlips. What we're gonna do now is we got our new gaskets. And my workbench is a mess, so I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit. But we got our new gaskets here for the thermostat housing and stuff like that, whatever you want to call this piece, to go onto the cylinder heads. It connects to the water pump, so pumps water out. But anyway, we got our new gaskets here, and it says in the manual to put some RTV on them, so they seal right. But before we can do that, I'm going to disconnect this hose. I do plan on getting a new hose for this one. I mean, it seems okay, but it's probably not in the best condition. Actually, I think I actually have a hose for it. So we're going to take a look, see if I can find the hose for it. But anyway, you can see here there is a broken bolt there. It's supposed to have bolts like this in it. This bolt broke out. And going to use the old weld a nut to a trick and back it out, hopefully. Alright guys, so I got the thing drilled out. I was going to do the weld trick, but I tried it, just would not work on this one. This thing was really stuck in there, but it drilled out much easier than the attempts I tried. So we're gonna get these gaskets on here and scrape all these old ones off here, obviously, because we don't want to put old gaskets on top of the new gaskets and it just doesn't seal right. So we're gonna get these gaskets scraped off here, and I'm gonna put the new ones on here and tighten it hand tight, and then we'll come back later with the all torque wrench and torque them all down. So put you guys on time lapse for this and get her going. So you can see I did get the piece on, and you can see these bolts here and here are really rusted, along with this one's getting there, so this one's probably going to be next. So I'm going to pretty much probably replace these bolts with some fresh new ones, because if I keep these rusted bolts in here, it's just not going to look too good. So I might just wire wheel them down and paint them. I haven't decided yet. All depends if the local hardware store has the same bolts or if they don't, because if they do have new bolts are cheap enough. I'm just going to put some new ones in. If they don't have the bolts, oh well, I'll just wire wheel them and only take a few seconds, and then I'll paint them, or at least clear coat them, and that should be good. Alright, so I got the workbench a little bit more cleaned up, and now it is time to put this piece on, which is also for the coolant. It goes on something like that. So we're going to have to, again, take these gaskets off, the old gaskets, and put on our brand new gaskets. And believe it or not, this is actually, if I'm correct, this might actually be the last gaskets we actually have to put on. Besides, we got to put our exhaust, just call them exhaust donuts on, and we got to put our thermostat housing cap back on. But other than that, she is pretty much ready to go. So this will be pretty much the last gasket we actually have to put on. So stay tuned for this. Alright guys, so I gotta go to the hardware store and get some more bolts tomorrow. I'm just not gonna have time tonight, but I'm gonna have to get two for this because I'm not gonna put these rusted bolts in here. The bolts holding the heads on are actually pretty good, so I'm not gonna worry about those. I'm just gonna clean them up with like a Scotch-Brite pad or something like that. And then, as I said, the bolts holding this on here, I'm going to get new ones of those too, because those are just rusted, and that's just not going to look good as well. And I also have to get new screws, because if you remember, we had to drill a few out. So I'm going to have to get some new screws to hold this this assembly on that holds the water pump and the primary ignition coil and all that junk on. But you can see here we got new exhaust gaskets. They came in the kit, so I'm gonna end up putting these on, I guess. The ones from the factory look, I think, are actually maybe better quality, but these are the ones that come in the kit, and they don't seem too bad. So we're gonna try them, and you can see here I painted these gloss black. And I know that's not the actual color they're supposed to be from factory. I know they're supposed to be like a, barbecue black, which is like a flat black kind of thing, satin flat black. Which is the color I have my exhaust pipes painted, but I don't really like that color. I think I don't know, I just don't really like the look of it on the sled. It doesn't really look good. It's just dull and everything. So I'm going to actually, you guys know last summer I did paint those pipes, which they do need another coat, don't get me wrong. But they're pretty nice right now. But I decided that I'm going to paint them gloss black, height, of course, gloss black, because I like the look of gloss black much better than the flat black or matte black that's on it. So that's what's going to go on with those. Alright guys, so I got all the new hardware for all the coolant spots here. So all these bolts are going to be new. Over here, these bolts are also going to be new. And then up on top here, the thermostat housing, those bolts are also going to be new. That go into there. So I'm going to be putting all new bolts in. They didn't have the flange bolts like it's supposed to have, but we're just going to use some washers. And again, this is Suzuki, so the motors or the bolts are metric, so all these are metric bolts. But that should be plenty of bolts and washers to put on new hardware on this side right here, so it will be looking good again. So we're gonna get this stuff put in here and see how it looks. Guys, so I got all the bolts in. Got all these in up here, and I got them up here. Obviously I had to retap this hole because I drilled it out. And then I got the bolts on here, which they're looking, makes it look a lot better, I think. And if you do notice, there's not washers on these, and that's because I was a complete idiot and bought the wrong size washers, which are the hole is too small. It's like just right there. So guys, so I got the stator all in there. You can see I got it lined up with the timing marks here. Tighten the Allen keys down real tight so it won't come loose. And then you can see right there, you see I got into that with a drill bit a little bit. I thought this would be bad, but the multimeter, this is a lighting coil, but the multimeter is telling me it's good. I ohmed it out and everything and performed a few tests on it. The multimeter, test for continuity and all that, and it says this is good. So I'm just gonna let it go. Alright guys, so I got the flywheel all on. Along with the pull start thing here and the pulley. You can see here these are bigger bolts than factory, and that is because if you guys remember, if you watch the episodes, when we were trying to pull it, the small bolt just pulled right out of those holes, and I just tapped them up bigger and kept going bigger until we finally got a nice meaty bolt in there. This is a 3/8 bolt, which is much bigger than the stock one. The stock one would have been like something like that, probably like 1/4 inch. This is probably smaller than 1/4 inch, but it would have been really small. But now we got these big 3/8 bolts in here, so they aren't going anywhere. Not that you really need that much strength here, but never heard of anyone shearing the bolts off on them from like pulling on them so hard. But we don't have to worry about shearing them off now because we've got I think these are grade 8s. No, they're grade 5s. Grade 5 flange bolts on, so we don't need the lock washers. So these are not going anywhere. And I still got to tighten up the flywheel apparently some more. But I'll get that tightened up more. I'll actually torque it, and then we can put our water pump pulley on and get our belt on. Alright guys, so you can see we got the belt on. Now the flywheel, I tightened that up. And I got the water pump pulley on. Now these are the short bolts, if you were wondering. They're only like maybe 1/4 inch long, pretty short, but they that's because the water pump, the little circle that the water pump has the pulley goes on. That is pretty skinny. So these bolts actually are pretty flush with the back of it. So now we can pretty much put our cover on that covers all this stuff up and get that all bolted on. So alright guys, so as you guys can see, I got the cover on and the pull start on. Got the CDI box on. I'm definitely going to clean this up because there's like a sticker label on top of it, and it comes off pretty easy, but I'm going to clean that up. Along with the whole motor, once right here on the bench, you can see there's like oil grime on the heads and stuff like that. The block's pretty clean, but I can use a wipe down. But I'm going to clean the whole thing up when it's ready, before it's ready to go in, like tomorrow or so. And yes, I know what you're thinking, these are not the right bolts. Yes, I know these are not the right screws. Just had them on there just because I wanted to see if it works, and it does work good. And I'm gonna get all new screws for this. You can see. Alright guys, so now it is time to put the clutch back together, hopefully. So we gotta get all this stuff on, which I have it all in a bag, so we shouldn't have lost any parts. So we gotta get it all back together. I got the piece of round stock out. That actually came out pretty easy. And I got the big bolt out, so it's ready to go, so we can put everything back together. Alright guys, so I got the clutch all back together. You can see I repainted the spring in there. That is a gloss hunter green. I know that's not the original color. Well, I know it was still green, but I know it wasn't like a gloss color. I don't think like that. Never really seen the spring up close, like brand new, because obviously I bought this sled used and I wasn't alive. I wasn't even alive in 1986, so don't really know what that spring was supposed to look like, but all I know is that I like it now a lot better than it was. Alright guys, so quick little update here. It is pretty much ready to go into the sled. So first we're going to bolt it onto the motor mount, and then I'm going to, because you can't really get your hand under there once the motor is on, to bolt it on from here. So we're going to take the motor mount off, which it already is off, and then bolt it here to the bottom of the motor. That's how I took it out. And then bolt the motor mount down, because that is a lot easier to bolt down than the actual motor itself. To the motor mount, you can't really get your hand in there. But it's pretty much all ready to go back in. I still got to throw the pull start on real quick, but other than that, it is pretty much ready to go. Got to put the thermostat in. That's in the house right now, but that's not a big deal. But other than that, it's all ready to go. You can see I got lock washers on these bolts, actually. New bolts here, new bolts up here, new bolts here, new bolts here, and then on the cover here, there's all new bolts in it. See, right there, all new bolts in that. And yes, I did end up throwing the original lines back on. Nobody really had any, but this one, I'm not too worried about this one. I'm not too really worried about any of them, but this one I'd sure like to get a new one, especially before next season. It seems pretty good, but I would just like to get new lines, new hoses for it. Alright guys, so I got the motor mount all bolted on. You can see here I got it propped up. It's got these big bolts in it. Surprisingly, these are only grade 5s, but they're real big. And I had 3, but I couldn't find the other one, searching all over for it. Turns out it was still in the sled, like in the belly pan, off to the side. But anyway, I found them. So now it's pretty much ready to go back in. So gonna set this thing in here and probably struggle a bit, but probably get it in. Alright guys, so the motor is in, so we just gotta bolt it down here. There's 4 bolts here that we gotta bolt in. They're 9/16, I believe, socket. So we're gonna get those all bolted in. But it does look pretty good in there. Especially with all the new bolts. I think that makes it look a lot better. I feel, as cheap as bolts are, might as well put them in, and it looks a lot better with new bolts. Still got to do a little bit of work here and there to it, just to make it look a lot better, but mechanically it is all done. But I just want to do a little bit of cosmetic work, like right here you can see there's no paint there. I just want to touch that up real quick with, like, I don't know how, but I'll touch it up. So we're going to get it bolted in and make sure no wires are pinched first, and then we'll get it bolted in. Alright guys, so the motor is all bolted in now. It's bolted to the motor mount, as you guys know, and then the motor mount is bolted into the sled now. As you can see, all new bolts on here. right here, and the motor mount itself is bolted together, because this plate right here, which the motor bolts on, is a separate piece than this angle iron aluminum piece here. So all new bolts in there, you can see, in washers here, along with new bolts here. So we shouldn't have any issues with our bolts. And then back here, you can see new bolts as well. And then the motor is not going anywhere. You can see I'm moving the whole sled by that. So yeah. Alright guys, that is going to do it for today's upload. It is another late night in the shop, and I got to go to school tomorrow, and I'm getting tired. So I'm not going to work on this thing while I'm tired, because I'll just probably end up making mistakes that I'll probably regret later. We got plenty of time later till the snow comes. So as you guys can see, I did mock up the carburetors here. You can see my brand new overflow line. This is just clear tubing, 1/4 inch outer diameter. I don't remember the inner diameter, but definitely worth. It was like I think it was like $3.99 or something for it. I'll leave it down on the screen what the price actually was for this, and it was 10 foot of it, and I think it was definitely worth the $3.99 because I got the overflow tubing, and I had enough to do overflows for my oil reservoir and my gas tank. I still have this much left, which is probably like 4 foot of it left, so I should have plenty to do the gas tank overflow. A gas tank air vent there. They said never had it when I purchased it. They should be there, but they're not, so I'm gonna take the opportunity and do them while it's all apart, and do it nice and clean, so that way it looks good and operates good. But that's gonna do it for tonight's upload, and next upload we're gonna be completely reassembling everything, just putting the radiator back in, just the gas tank, the fuel, gonna be bolting the steering column on, just putting it all back together and getting it so we can do the first startup, which I'm pretty excited about. So keep her tuned for that, and see you guys later.